What's going on, everybody? Darrell, the Whiskey Saint, back with another video, guys. And we're actually going to get back to some reviewing. And this is kind of a first for the channel outside of a collaborative video we did reviewing Old Dominic. I'm going to give you my take on Russell's 15. I know Kelsey already reviewed this a few weeks back, but I think this bottle is a bottle that is worth reviewing and getting another opinion from us. Like, I think it's that good from what I remember. Full transparency, did have a sample of this a few weeks back, and we're going to dive back into a sample that I got from my buddy Jonathan Ashbridge, J.A. Sells, some Russell's 15 here, guys, and just see if that initial opinion, had maybe a half ounce, if that, on my first go around. So want to dive back into this. I remember it being pretty special, so I figured it was worth, a second opinion. Not even a second opinion, because it's good whiskey, and I know Kelsey loved it, but, a fresh take and another perspective on it. So if you're new to our channel, guys, hit that like and subscribe. With no further ado, we're going to kick the show off. Cheers. Welcome back, guys, and we're going to just dive right into this. I'm probably going to save myself a little bit of this. We'll see. Pour about half of it, see if I can get a good go at it. If not, pour a little bit more. But I do remember this being pretty good, guys. Does Russell's really put out anything that's bad? Come on. It's like Stag Jr. Some things are just better than the others. There's a couple brands like that, ECBP. I think Russell's is like that. Granted, actually, I can't say that. I have one Russell's single barrel that, for me, it's an older one too. Just wasn't really good. Outside of that one bottle, everything I've had from Russell's, 101s, Rare Breed Ryes, all the single barrels, everything has been good. All the Master's Keeps, which is expected. Just those prices now are kind of getting a little crazy. It's not a lot of people are buying them now for that reason. But, it's still good whiskey. If we take out some of the excessive pricing for some of those, and just focus on the actual quality of the whiskey, I don't think anybody's really saying it's bad, right? So we're going to spin this up. We're going to cheers to my guy, Cheech, Whiskey Encore, and we're just going to dive in on the nose on this, guys. Cheers. Oh. Oh, my God. Guys, it's like that happy place when you get like lovely oak sweetness and nice spice. Like, it's kind of everything you want. And I don't want to say hyper age, but whiskeys that are 13, 14, 15 years old, like, you get that old rich funk. It's like if you just stuck your head in a super wet concentrated barrel. Like, literally, if you just dumped that barrel of whiskey and you kind of stuck your head in there, you're getting that aroma. Like, it's very, very concentrated. You could tell. Look at the color on these guys. Like, it's pretty nuts. Some of the stuff that was blended into this whiskey, I believe, was like 150, 160 proof from Wild Turkey. Like, all the way at the top of the rick house is like absolutely insane. Hence that color. It is proof down. It's not barrel proof, but it's still, I think, 118.2 proof. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I know it's somewhere around it, guys. But God, this smells. Yeah, like there's no denying that this is old. No denying. And it is minimum 15 years old. There's probably some older stuff like they did with 13s, mixing like 19-year-old stuff, I believe, in there, 16, 19-year-old stuff. But you get tons of depth, so much oak influence, but not like a dry oak. It's just super sweet and concentrated. Dark cherry, nice spice, and just lovely, lovely sweet oak. Oh, God, I can talk for ages about the nose, guys. We're going to dive in on that palate. Cheers. Flavor is lovely. First sip, which I'm going to go in for another sip before I actually maybe comment on what I wanted to comment about. But first sip was fantastic. Did feel like it was lacking in one small area. But before I say that, let's take another sip to see if that's actually true. Cheers. Yeah. So ironically, you get everything that you get up front on the nose on the palate, guys. You're getting that lovely spice. It's like a dark cherry, super sweet oak on the palate. Maybe a little drying, but I love dry. Like, long as it's not gonna like literally like kill my palate. But I love that oakiness. When something's like pretty well aged and it gives you just that super nice oaky dryness, but not to the point where you're like, oh my God, give me some water, or I need another sip to kind of coat the palate. It's not overwhelming by any means, but you could tell it has some age. I will say though, the finish is nice in terms of flavor, but it does lack a punch. This is like 118 proof, I believe, but it does not drink like that. Like I have some 110 single barrels that drank to me proofier than this, but the flavors are nowhere near this on those single barrels. Like I said, this you could tell is old, right? Like we're saying minimum 15 years. It probably has older stuff in it. You get all of that on the palate. You get all of that on the nose. Just for me, it just seems to be lacking a little bit on just the potency of the flavors coming through on the finish. But this is really, really good. Normally we do grade whiskeys, guys, but this is a sample. I didn't have a bottle, so I didn't want to review just this sample. I kind of like to dive into it a few more times before reviewing something. So hence why I'm just doing it with you guys here versus a true like scored review on this whiskey. I'm gonna pour a little bit more of this, guys, and take another sip. But we could chat about it, right? So this bottle, I believe, is retailing for about $300. Minimum 15-year-old, not barrel proof, but still a pretty high proof. It's higher proof than Russell's 13. I think even the Rick houses were right around like this proof point, but I believe those were actually barrel proof versus this being proofed down a bit. So all the flavors and concentration is still there from all those barrels that were like way at the top of the dang Rick houses. But surprisingly, with proofs that high that were blended in, it doesn't seem to translate as much on the finish for me in terms of just that flavor punch, right? But proof punch, should I say, because the flavor punch is there. The flavor is not lacking whatsoever. It's just that lack of proof, which is fine. I don't need 120, 130 proof whiskey. Everything about this outside of maybe just a month in the finish is fantastic. Let's take one more sip. Yeah. This is just very, very good. Very good. Oh man. I will say, like, I have seen a few videos and a few reviews of other people doing it, and I can kind of agree on the aspect of some saying that some people may prefer Russell's 13 over this. And I would say the people that actually probably prefer that are the ones that kind of want more of a potent punch on the finish. I think the flavor of this is a lot better than every Russell's 13 I've had, but I do prefer the finishes that I get on the 13s over this. So it puts you in a predicament. Like, do you want something that's really good and punches crazy, or do you want something that's excellent on the palate and just doesn't punch as high on the proof? So it's kind of depends on what you're looking for, really. Me, I love the flavors up front. I can sacrifice a little bit on proof to get something that tastes like this on the palate, because there's a lot of stuff that can drink hot and just, not be too good on a palate, or vice versa, be good on a palate and drink a little hot and proofy, but this is completely balanced on the palate. And I would say even on the finish, but it just leaves me wanting a little bit more. At that proof point, I would think it would come across and translate a little bit better. But that would be my only con. In terms of pricing, guys, like it's tough, right? So it is an expensive bottle. Russell's $300. Do I think it's worth the retail purchase if you can get it? I do. I think it's a pretty special Russell's. The Rick Houses were about $250 retail. And this, I think, on paper should be older. It is age stated at 15. The Rick Houses aren't, but it's supposed to be like 10 years plus. But those are really, really good as well. And this is only $50 more. If you can find those at retail, those are definitely buys. I think this one is as well. It does kind of hurt the value to an extent, right? Because it's a $300 bottle, right? So you want it to be special, but drinking this, it feels special. It tastes special, right? So I think that value's there in terms of retail. If it was anything more than 300, it would be a tough, a tough one for me to pull the trigger on. But I think they're kind of maxed out and capped at that dollar amount. Like I hope to not see any other Russell special releases coming above that unless it's something that's like maybe a 17, 18-year-old like barrel proof from them. But I'm happy at that $300. If I was to see one at retail, I think I would pick it up, guys. This is something pretty special, and I can see why it's on, a few people's bourbon of the year list. If I had a bottle, I probably would have to hide it from myself because I would want to keep diving into it. I'm going to finish this little bit, guys, and we're going to end this off. Yeah, I don't want to compare this to King of Kentucky because it's a completely different profile, but the drink experience is very, very similar. Like very, very similar notes of how the oak translates on the palate and how the flavors translate across your tongue. Reminds me of the King of Kentucky that I've had here, or actually all of the King of Kentuckys that I've had. It's just a very similar experience. Not taste profile, because they're different, but that experience, guys, if you know what I'm saying. Oh, man. That's really good whiskey. I definitely got to be on the lookout. Hopefully I can grab one pretty soon. I know a couple are probably hitting the stores around like my local area, so we shall see in the near future, guys. But hope you guys stuck around for this. Let me know if you guys tried this in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm curious. I find it to be really, really good whiskey, but really good whiskey for me isn't, really good whiskey for everybody else sometimes. So curious if you guys had it. If you did, let me know in the comments. Till next time, guys. Cheers.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello.